Hey everyone, welcome to Pie's Kitchen. Today I'm going to share with you my favorite chocolate cake recipe. It is a chocolate zucchini cake with white chocolate cream cheese frosting. Oh, it is so good. And it's my favorite for two reasons. One, it is super easy and very forgiving. Two, it is actually quite healthy as far as cakes go. And I got this recipe from my best friend's mother and I've been making it for literally 10 years. It is that good. And today I'm going to share it with you. So let's get started. So this recipe makes one 8-inch round cake. Okay, now what we're going to do is I've greased this on the sides and I'm going to line the bottom with parchment paper because you don't want to have issues with the cake coming out. Okay, so a little trick for making round pieces of parchment paper. What I'm going to do is fold it into first a square. I mean, you don't have to get rid of this part, but I like to because it just makes it a little easier. Just like that, and then you have a square. With this, you're going to keep folding it, and you keep folding it so that you keep having this point right here. And you just fold it until it's small like this. And then you want to measure out half from the center, just roughly. And then right here at the edge, then you cut it off. Boop. There you go. Da-da-da-da! You get this perfectly, well not perfectly, but round enough piece of parchment paper for the bottom of your pan. Let's deal with the dry ingredients. So I've got here just some all-purpose flour. Now this is where the healthy part comes in. I modified this recipe from the original to also include some whole wheat flour. And I found that I couldn't barely tell the difference. It's actually really surprisingly good. Now we're gonna add cocoa powder. And with cocoa powder, I like to sift it. Okay, maybe use a bigger sieve. I forgot my big sieve. Because cocoa powder tends to have a lot of clumps in it. Baking powder and baking soda, but I'm also going to sieve these, especially baking soda because they like to clump up. A little bit of salt. And then you're just gonna give it a whisk. So that's the dry ingredients, and now we're gonna do our wet ones. I've got some brown sugar in here, dark brown. If you don't have, you can do light brown or even white sugar will work, but I do like that intense molasses flavor. Some oil. Now you can use any kind of neutral flavored oil. I happen to be using avocado oil. I'm just gonna give it a mix just to break up also the lumps in brown sugar. Okay, and now I'm gonna add 2 eggs, but one at a time. In goes my second egg. Okay, so you just want to beat it until it's sort of like light and you can see lots of air bubbles, a little bit fluffy. I've done this with just like really whisking vigorously, works just as well. Now we're gonna add some yogurt, mini spatula to scrape off every last bit, especially thick things like yogurt, and vanilla. Give that another whir. So now the healthiest part of this whole thing, the grated zucchini. Now use the large whole grater. Don't use the tiny, tiny little graters. And this is just about one medium-sized zucchini. You should not need more than one. Okay, so I'm gonna add that into here. Give it a stir. If you're not familiar with the concept of chocolate zucchini cake, you actually don't taste the zucchini at all, but the zucchini will make the cake incredibly moist without making it dense and rich. It's really quite amazing. Okay, and now it's as easy as making a muffin. You're gonna pour the wet into the dry and scrape every last bit. Now I'm just gonna stir the two together. You don't wanna over mix it. However, this batter is actually more forgiving than most cake batters in terms of how much you can stir it because the whole wheat flour will prevent too much gluten formation. So the little bran and germ will actually cut the gluten strands. So your cake, even if you stir it a little bit too much, won't be tough. Okay, so now it's almost mixed, but not entirely. What I'm gonna do is stop and scrape my spatula. Because what I find is there's always so much gunk in here, and then I finish doing it, and then suddenly my spatula has all this dry flour stuck to it. So you want to scrape it before you're done, and then add some chocolate chips. So this is the secret, little secret of this cake, is there's tiny little pleasant surprises all throughout. Now you don't have to do chocolate chips. You can do, I wanted to do dried apricots. I think that'll be really good. So you can add whatever you want. It's a really forgiving batter. One last stir, just so you no longer see any dry clumps of flour. And that is it. How easy is that? So this is gonna go into a 350-degree oven for about 40 to 45 minutes in the middle rack. Okay, so here is the cake. I use a toothpick test for this, and if you insert the toothpick and you pull it out and it comes out relatively clean, it's okay. It's such a moist cake that if it doesn't come out pristine dry, I find it's okay as long as it's not wet, like you don't see batter on the toothpick. Now before I take this cake out, I'm just gonna let it cool and settle down for about 5 minutes. So to get this cake out, run something flat along the side of the cake. Make sure nothing is catching. Chocolate cakes are particularly sticky for some reason. Okay, and then I'm gonna take my cooling rack. 1, 2, 3, hup. And it falls out easily because we put that parchment paper, the perfectly round parchment paper, on the back. Yay! Okay, the reveal. Da-da-da. And now we're gonna let this cool absolutely completely before we put the icing on it. If you put icing on a hot cake, even slightly warm, the icing will just melt, okay? So the cake is cool and I can barely contain my excitement. I wanna eat it so bad. So we're gonna make the frosting first though. This is a white chocolate cream cheese frosting. So I've got some cream cheese and some butter here that has been sitting out not too long, just until it's soft enough to beat. I don't like it when it's completely, really soft. I find the frosting become too runny and it's harder to work with. So I'm just gonna beat these two until they're nice and fluffy. Okay. I'm gonna add my melted white chocolate. So this is just white chocolate that I melted in the microwave. I don't want this super, super hot because if this is hot, it'll melt the butter and the cream cheese instantly. Cream cheese, butter, and white chocolate. Oh, can anything be better? And just scrape it down once or twice. And then before I do my final mixing, I'm gonna add icing sugar. This icing is actually not that sweet. Just a dash of vanilla. There you go. A little bit for good luck. Okay. That looks good. Ready to frost. Now you can turn this recipe into cupcakes if you want, or you can do like a big rectangular sheet cake, ice them and then cut them into squares, whatever you want. Okay, and then before you finish, what I like to do is do a final design on top of the cake by just running my spatula back and forth. And then when you do this, if there's any part that's too thin, you'll catch it too, because then you'll be able to see the cake right through. And then there's that. You can leave it just like this. I like to add pistachios on top because I love that green color. Oh my God, check that out. Oh, I'm so excited. Ooh, I can see the melty bits of chocolate chips. Mmm. 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 I don't even know what to say. Really chocolatey. I love the melty bits of chocolate chips in there. Oh, and it's so moist. That's what the zucchini does. It keeps the cake incredibly moist, yet it is not dense or rich like, a fudge cake might be. And that icing, the tartness from the cream cheese, just really puts it at its happy place. Nutty pistachios, it is so good. So the recipe, as always, will be on hotthaikitchen.com. When you make it, send me a photo on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And if you haven't subscribed to the show, right here so you won't miss a single episode. And I will see you next time for your next delicious adventure. I'm just gonna let it cool and settle down for about 5 minutes.